These movies were awful. And yet I had so much fun. Anybody else have a blast this week?
They weren't terrible.
No,
one in particular.
He's shitting on one of them that I for sure thought he would like. And it's really confusing me. Kadish, I mean. I'm pointing at Kadish.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I think Kadish will like this movie. And he's like, this movie was trash. And I'm like, I do not have a bead on your sensibilities, sir. I just cannot figure you out.
That's because you have terrible taste in movies.
He's not wrong.
And I have great taste in movies.
I don't know about that
never
either.
the two shall meet.
I don't know, man.
It's like an elitist and a baby had a conversation.
But who's the elitist and who's the baby?
Yeah, who's the baby, Jude?
I think the listeners know.
Got the movie brainiac and the wannabe movie snob.
Wannabe movie snob?
and neither one of them know movies.
Oh, no, he didn't.
The following podcast may contain adult language and an abundance of salt. So get your sleigh bells ready, people. We're talking Christmas horror movies.
Yeah. Christmas horror.
Welcome back, and thank you for listening to this. Sorry.
Here comes Santa.
Evil zombie slaying Santa. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Salty Nerd Podcast. In today's episode, we will be discussing Christmas horror movies as a kind of, I don't know, what do you call it when you're trying to do opposite of what's happening during the season?
It's a theme.
It's
anti-theme.
Anti-theme? There's a word for it, though.
Counter-programming.
Counter-programming. Thank you very much, sir. We were doing some counter-programming this week to get you guys out of the mood of Christmas, because Christmas is bogus.
The hell,
It's bullshit.
The theme is 2020 sucks, so we're having a COVID Christmas.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm having a great time.
So we're talking murder and death and haunting and all kinds of crazy Christmas nonsense. Anyway, I'm joined, as always, by my talented and illustrious co-host, starting with the science fiction author himself, Matthew Kadish.
I get top billing today?
Yes.
Wow. I could get used to this.
Don't let it go to your head, sir.
Too late.
It's done. I've screwed up. Thanks for joining us today.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
And I am also joined by the ambassador of estrogen, Jude.
Oh, hello.
Who's wearing a fantastic holiday sweater.
Oh, well, thank you.
With Gizmo on it. Mm-hmm. It looks like she's pinching her nipples when she holds her ears.
Wow.
It has actual gremlins on it.
Yes, it has gremlins on it too. Yeah. Christmas trees, snowflakes.
Yes. And, it's very festive.
Very festive.
I got her that for Christmas after we were watching Red Letter Media, and Jay has this.
No, it was Macaulay Culkin.
Well, Macaulay Culkin and Jay have, Gremlins Christmas sweaters.
Shout out to Red Letter Media.
They're so ugly. But she was obsessing over them so much. I was like, great, now I'm going to have to buy them.
I love it.
I think Kadish would lose his mind if Red Letter Media acknowledged our existence.
I would love to hang out with those guys.
They would be fun.
I would lose my mind.
It would be pretty cool.
I would want to do like a best of the worst with them where I just got to sit there and watch terrible
I'll
movies.
do a half in the bag so I can drink.
There we go. I'm with Jude.
Hey, you can drink on best of the worst too. In fact, I think it's mandatory.
Oh, man. All right, I'm also joined by the barbarian space Viking, Matt Vader. What's up, man?
What is up?
Not much. Keanu Reeves, how you doing today?
I'm really good.
Yeah.
What's going down?
How many drinks are you in?
I'm in like a
1.5.
This is probably like 4 shots.
Wow. I'm sipping on just a straight.
Last hour. Yeah. I had to drink early today
to get set up for this.
To watch these terrible.
I don't know. I had fun this week. I wasn't expecting to have fun, but I did. Anyway, we're discussing 3 Christmas horror movies. First is Krampus. Actually, not first, but Krampus is one of them. And then we're doing a Christmas horror story starring William Shatner. Featuring William
He's
Shatner.
in it.
and last but not least, Gremlins, the classic 80s film that everybody loves.
Starring Dick Miller.
Sure.
Everybody loves.
A lot of people love this movie.
Yeah.
A lot of people love this movie. Maybe. I didn't, but that's okay. I'm the odd man out. Anyway, before we dive into the episode, guys, I am.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, I am.
Both of you are.
All right, guys, before we dive super deep into this episode and have a lot of fun, let's take a quick break to listen to some sponsors.
Geico presents Left Brain versus Right Brain.
You know, we should switch to Geico.
I'm picking up what you're putting down, buddy.
We could save hundreds of dollars a year on car insurance.
Ooh, with that kind of scratch, we can get the band back together for a reunion tour.
A, we were never in a band. B, Glenn let us play the tambourine on stage one time. And C, we will, however, put that savings towards a new interview suit.
Look what I found. Huh? Still got it. Oh, no.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Now is the chance to use reliable energy to grow your money with the Dominion Energy Reliability Investment. Our new investment product offers competitive returns, no maintenance fees, and flexible online access to your money. Make the reliable investment in reliable energy. The Dominion Energy Reliability Investment. To find out more, go online to reliabilityinvestment.com. That's reliabilityinvestment.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Before we get started, real quick, if you guys would like to support this podcast, go to saltynerdclub.com and join our super awesome patron team. There, you will find multiple tiers that you can choose from to help support the podcast at any monetary value that you might be able to send us. And in return, you will get exclusive podcasts, behind-the-scenes photos, and direct contact with the hosts. So hit us up and help support the podcast. We're going to grow the brand. Our goal is to get to 1,000 patron subscribers, and you can help do that at saltynerdclub.com.
Well, I just wanted to throw in there that if you don't want to become a patron, you can help out the podcast by recommending it to your friends and leaving us a 5-star review and all that good stuff. So there are multiple ways where you can help us out that don't involve money. And if things are tight this year, or you just don't feel like throwing us some dollar bills, you can help us out that way.
That also is very helpful.
And
all right, guys.
Also, if you don't want to become a patron, why though?
We're so awesome.
Patrons get a lot of cool stuff.
They do. All right. The first movie on our list is
Christmas Horror Story. 2015.
Featuring William Shatner.
Dude, this is a masterpiece.
So there is no budget for this, nor is there a box office budget.
It was just how much it cost.
It just created itself,
Out of
and
thin air.
William Shatner appeared in it. It's a Christmas miracle.
The budget for this movie was whatever eggnog and whiskey that we needed to get William Shatner.
Did you notice that bottle of wild turkey he was drinking
was pretty empty?
Kept getting lower and lower while he's filming his scenes?
I don't think that was continuity. I think that was just him drinking.
They probably had him for one day, and he drank that whole bottle.
By the end of this movie, he was literally blasted.
Dude, he started to slur his words by the end of the freaking movie.
He's like, Norman, can you read me, Norman?
So good.
All right,
I'll take you through it.
Yeah, Jude, there's 3 different movies in this movie.
There's 4, actually.
4.
Yeah, there's more, yeah.
And they're kind of interconnected. So go ahead and
not really.
Lay the roadmap out for us. What is this movie about?
William Shatner DJs a radio station on Christmas Eve while several stories unfold. So he's in it throughout, and then peppered in are these other kind of side stories. So one of the side stories is about Santa in the North Pole. Shiny the elf gets sick and dies, but elves can't die. And now he's back from the dead and he's infecting all of the elves, and Santa has to deal with that.
Mm-hmm. Santa versus
zombie elves.
Zombie elves. Okay. Another side story. Okay. Then there was a murder in a Catholic school, and the responding officer gets so spooked that he has to go on an extended leave vacation. And a year later, on Christmas Eve, he takes his family tree hunting on private property where his son gets lost and is replaced by a changeling. Mm-hmm. And then, meanwhile, a couple of kids break into that Catholic school.
A year later.
It's a year later.
Was that the connection? I didn't pick that up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. It's a year later, and a couple of kids are trying to do a school report on this unsolved crime. They break into this school. They end up getting locked in with all of the ghosts of Christmas past. Then a family full of terrible people have car trouble.
Yeah, and the daughter of that family is the girlfriend of one of the kids who gets trapped in the school.
And she's the one that got them the keys to the school.
Because she's a kleptomaniac.
Oh, that's how this worked out. Man, I did not follow how these were connected.
No?
At all.
Oh, I got a couple of them. There's that I didn't get. I didn't get the connection with the daughter.
So they have car trouble, and then Krampus comes after them, taking them out one by one. And then, meanwhile, something terrible has happened at the mall, and Shatner is reporting updates while drinking nog and playing Christmas music and waiting to hear from his coworker, the weatherman, Stormin' Norman. Discuss.
Well, this is a wild ride of a movie.
It's pretty entertaining.
It was entertaining as hell.
Yeah.
I will say.
I disagree.
Oh, how dare you, sir.
I mean,
we're going this way today. We're crossing
the streams.
Yeah. You never cross the streams, man.
both terrible and entertaining. It's definitely a turn your brain off kind of affair.
Yeah.
But
it's, I mean, those connections that you just kind of spelled out, like how all three of these movies kind of intertwine.
Yeah.
I'm all right with that. That's kind of cool.
Genius.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't say genius, but
No,
it's
I was joking.
It's cool. Okay. So my favorite out of the four, I guess. Yeah. I didn't realize there was four. I thought there was only three. My favorite one, I guess I would have to judge this by which one actually kind of freaked me out, was the one with the kids in the Catholic school.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was my favorite too.
It was a really cool because the way it started out, like you said, it was like an investigation where this young woman was like trying to jumpstart her career as like a small town journalist or something like that. So she's investigating this
like
murder.
a high school student.
She's a high school kid.
Yeah.
I know, but she's like,
school
she's
newspaper.
getting into journalism. They're doing this little thing.
She's jailbait.
Jesus.
Dark.
Yeah,
It's true. I felt dirty watching the sex scene.
I did too.
I was like, that girl's 16.
I didn't really think about that.
Should we be watching this?
Yeah. I was like, are we going to get thrown in jail for watching? Yeah.
Underage sex scenes.
Yeah.
And,
I mean,
no,
and plus, like, she basically rapes that kid.
Oh,
does.
for sure. Well, he's kind of into it though because he doesn't know. But it's a ghost that rapes him.
She raped herself.
I felt terrible for him.
Anyway.
Yeah. Before we get too deep in the woods.
Anyway, so this one.
Let's take each side story.
Okay. Can we start with the Catholic school?
Sure.
Okay. I'm going to start with that one because that's my favorite one out of the three.
Okay.
Out of the four, whatever.
All right.
Okay, so these kids...
Murder in the Catholic school.
Yeah, these kids go in there and they're investigating this murder. The murder that took place was actually pretty gruesome. There was a guy that got like crucified onto a wall and his neck got broken. And they show this. They show the aftermath of it. And it's pretty dark.
Mm-hmm.
And there's
it's footage from the responding police officers.
Yeah.
Which is really weird because you'd think it'd be like body cam footage, but it's like there's a police officer like leading a cameraman into a crime scene.
Yeah, it's like the crime scene investigators were documenting what they were finding and doing like a little investigation into it. And they find this guy, he's dead, he's crucified onto the walls. There's a scripture written on the wall.
His neck is turned around,
twisted and broken.
His hands are chopped off.
Yeah, it's pretty freaky. Yeah. Okay, so
and then there's a second victim that is like suspended from the ceiling.
Well, she appears while they're in, because they only think it's this guy, and then all of a sudden like her body falls from like the ceiling, and everyone's like traumatized by it.
Yeah. Got me. I jumped. I don't know.
Me too.
I kind of freaked out. Okay, so then these kids come in there and they want to investigate. A year later, they want to investigate the murder, and they're talking about it. And they go down and they get locked into this basement where all these murders take place.
And their school used to be a nunnery, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It used to be like the convent where you sent teen pregnancy.
Yeah. and like in the catacombs of the school, like that have been blocked off. This is where, they perform the abortions.
Oh, I didn't get that.
What? They totally showed it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's where they were having the kids.
Yikes. Oh, that's right. That's the ghost with the baby. That's super freaky. Yeah, that creeped me out.
Yeah.
Okay. There was that part. And then like the area that they were kind of mainly in was this area where they had like this old, what's the thing called with baby Jesus?
Manger.
Yeah, the manger scene.
Yeah, they had a nativity
scene.
Set.
It's where they stored all.
They stored all the not the mummies, the mannequins.
I thought it
could be cooler if it was mummies.
I took it as where the school's drama department stored all their shit.
Pretty much, yeah. This is the part that freaked me out the most because they constantly were like the camera would have this mannequin standing in the background, and you were like, it's gonna move.
Just mannequins are scared.
I know it's going to move. And it got me. That freaking scene where the guy had like the doll head behind him and it was all bloody. I freaking jumped out of my skin, man. I was freaked out. This one story, I was completely sold, hook, line, and sinker. I bought into it.
It was very creepy.
It was very creepy and very dark, especially with the aborted baby with the ghost that was like holding it, and it was all bloody and gross, and it was just like, whoa, just freaked me out. The whole thing. It was my favorite one out of the three.
Stupid.
Four. What's the fourth one?
Santa.
I thought that was the second one.
Because
that's
the
normal.
cop, the kids, Santa, and the family.
That I keep forgetting about the family.
Okay,
because I didn't care about that one. Vader, which one was your favorite or least favorite?
I don't know. They were all pretty bad.
Bad? What makes you think they were bad?
They were terrible.
Dude, this movie sucked.
This movie was really
bad. It did not suck.
It wasn't scary. It was just a bunch of contrived bullshit thrown in together to make some
of them were scary, and some of them were entertaining. Come on, dude.
No.
Zombie hunting Santa isn't entertaining.
It was dumb as hell. It's dumb as hell.
This is the most uncomfortable scene.
I think, but you asked me what my least favorite one.
Yeah.
I think it was the Changeling one.
You didn't like that one?
No, the one with the family that stole the Christmas tree.
Yeah. So you want to set it up or no?
No.
Okay.
Okay. So the cop that's on that video that the kids breaking into the school have seen. That guy was super traumatized from having that victim fall from the ceiling. So he's like on extended leave from work. And the next story focuses on their family. So they go to this they're like, we're going Christmas tree shopping. And they go out to this like field and the wife is like, yeah, let's find a Christmas tree over here. And there's like a fence that says private property, do not enter. And he's like, no, we're only going to find our tree
so
in there.
The cop literally breaks the law to get a Christmas tree.
Private property. You know bad things are going to happen immediately.
Yeah.
And it does. The kid gets lost and then they eventually find
the kid, quote unquote,
air quotes, him. And he climbs like out of a tree. And immediately I was like, that's not the kid. That's a changeling.
The vagina tree?
The vagina tree?
Yeah.
Is that what you're calling it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then they bring this kid home, assuming that it's their child. And the kid is just like acting super weird. He hasn't said a word since
creepy.
They found him. It's just like shoveling pasta in his mouth, stabs his dad with a fork.
Yeah.
And then the dad cop, he's like.
Dad cop.
Yeah.
Stepdad cop.
He's like, to his wife, he's like, hey, you want to bang? And she's like, no, I don't, because tonight's been weird. You got stabbed and our son got lost. And
read the room, bro.
Things are not sexy. And he's real pissed off. So he goes and sleeps on the couch. And then the changeling comes out and murders him.
Yeah, cuts his hands off and like chokes him to death with his own belt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was dark.
Yeah.
But that there was a scene in that story that particularly disturbed Jude.
Oh,
So like the mother is asleep and her changeling child crawls into her bed and it looks like it's going to molest her in some sexual manner.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and the entire time we're watching this, Jude's like averting her eyes. She's like, oh my God.
I'm super uncomfortable
little child hand.
There's like a child hand.
Grabbing her boob.
Yeah.
It was super creepy.
It's so gross.
This changeling was like a little weird sex fiend.
It was just icky.
It was icky.
It was an icky thing. It was
the ending of it was weird and also kind of interesting though, because when so the person that owns the property where they cut the tree down calls her like randomly somehow, oh, I got your license plate, which led me to your phone number. And he's like, your child is not your child. That's a changeling. He's like, you have to bring him back. You have to convince him to come back willingly. Otherwise it won't work, which they just threw that out the window. And so she's like, okay, I have to get this kid, this thing back to the woods so that I can get my own child back. And so her dead husband's sitting there like in pieces. And she's like, hey, honey, do you want to, get in the car?
Let's go for a ride.
And then this thing just attacks her and she starts beating the shit out of it with a baseball bat.
She puts it in like a duffel bag and brings it back to the woods.
And so she gets there and then, she meets up with the guy that owns the property. And, he's like, hey, your son's gone. She's like, I want my son. Here's your stupid freaking changeling. Now give me my son back. And he's just like, it's done. It's over. And she, in a sequence of events, she ends up shooting the guy that owns the property and I guess like keeps these changelings in check. And so immediately
all the changelings were scared of him because he was an abusive changeling owner, I guess.
I guess. He's apparently the bad guy.
This whole movie just reminded me of like a bad HBO movie.
Yeah.
Really?
It's really bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was interesting. At least it was entertaining. At least. Like I was entertained throughout. There was no moment where I was
not. I was this whole movie. I just sat there and kept looking at my watch and pushing pause.
Yeah, I'm with Vader
to see how many minutes was left of it. It's like this thing's never gonna end.
Even my favorite storyline, which was the Santa versus the zombie elves thing, I was like, this should be way more entertaining than it is. Like it's just not good.
That one I think was the least well done one.
I mean, like when you have a climactic showdown between Santa and Krampus, you'd think like, oh, that's gonna be awesome. I remember when we chose this for
the trailer was
week,
dope.
We watched the trailer and the trailer was amazing.
We were so pumped to watch this.
And this is one of those movies where the trailer is so much better than the actual movie.
Yep.
Because like it just felt the way that all these stories are intercut together. Like I felt like it would have been better if they had just showed each story sequentially. as opposed to intercutting them.
They tried to pull a Pulp Fiction because they're all somewhat connected, and I think that's what they were going for.
I don't know if Pulp Fiction's the right.
Well,
Yeah,
it's 3 or 4 interconnected stories that are.
But that's actually done well, and this is not.
I understand. I'm saying that's what they were trying to do. That's what
the best part of this movie is William Shatner,
Yeah.
and he's in it
Just
for like
drinking his nog.
he's in it for 2 seconds.
He's the best actor in the whole movie. I'll give him that.
But like, you know, he showed up for like 1 day of filming.
Yeah.
You can tell like he's just like kind of rolling with his lines. He's just drinking, getting drunk. Like, I don't think that was acting. I think he was just like,
He genuinely looks happy to be there because there's a bottle of whiskey in his hand.
Eggnog and whiskey.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll get paid thousands of dollars to sit and do these stupid lines.
Should text him and ask him.
I'll tweet him. Like, hey, man.
Sure. I'm going
He'll block you immediately.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
No. He's a good guy. He's funny. His Twitter account's pretty
I'm going
hilarious.
to do it right now while we're talking.
Okay, you go ahead and do that. Anyway, so yours was the favorite one, was the zombie elf one?
like of the 4, I felt like the Santa versus zombie elves was like the one that I enjoyed the most, because I didn't enjoy any of these.
I actually liked the family one because I thought that the Krampus in it looked so cool.
Oh, it was a cool Krampus. Yeah, I like that too. I mean,
but the family was just so annoying.
Oh, the family was super annoying. Sorry. Yeah, the family was super annoying.
I liked the mean grandma the best.
It wasn't a grandmother. It was
aunt.
Their aunt.
Yeah.
Whatever. Old lady. Krampus old lady.
Mean old lady.
Yeah.
Mean old lady.
Yeah, who sent her extended family to their deaths knowingly.
Pretty dark.
She's a survivor.
Yeah. So like with that storyline, you have basically a typical family, mother, father, young son, young daughter, and they're going to visit the father's aunt, and basically they're your typical waspy, crappy family.
Yeah,
they're just awful.
Yeah, they're just they're not good people.
Yeah. Which I think was maybe a smart move, because you don't feel bad when they start getting killed off.
The thing is like in a horror movie, when people start dying, you kind of want people be like caring about the people who are getting killed off. Mm-hmm. When you don't care about the people who get killed off, it's just boring.
I don't know. I was kind of rooting for Krampus. I was like, yeah, get him.
But anyway, so they go visit the father's aunt's place, and she's like this old lady.
And he's basically there to like scam her out of some money for some pyramid scheme that he's doing.
He's basically, the family's broke, and he's been, getting quote unquote investors for his business for like years, because he's trying to impress his wife, who's awful. and basically like she's a pretty woman who, he's trying to keep her into a certain style of living that she's been accustomed to by running all over the place and defrauding people. And his aunt is like his last kind of ditch effort to kind of salvage some money. And she rejects him. And while they're there, their son is just a complete dick.
He's such a dick.
And he breaks this Krampus statue. And the groundskeeper for the manor that their aunt lives at gets all pissed off and kicks them out. And so they leave, and on their way back, their car breaks down, and they're forced to try to walk back to the aunt's place. And while they're walking back, Krampus ambushes them, and he basically kills the little kid. He mortally wounds the father.
Who, it turns out, he like murdered animals anyway.
So, he was a super creepy kid.
The whole family were psychos.
Yeah, a bunch of jerks.
The daughter and the wife get the father, who's very badly wounded, to a nearby chapel. And while they're there, they start kind of
confessing each other's sins.
I'm sorry, I'm such a shitbag.
Yeah, and like the daughter's
I'm sorry,
like,
I'm a bad mom. I'm sorry, I'm a bad kid. But all I really do is steal things. It's not like I, fuck dudes.
Yeah, and she talks about how like her little brother was this kind of burgeoning serial killer. Yeah. God. And
it came out of left field too. It was super weird.
Yeah, and the father basically gets killed by Krampus when Krampus shows back up.
Yeah.
And then the mother kind of sacrifices herself to save the daughter. And then the daughter gets back to the aunt's place, and she has a face-off with Krampus where she kills Krampus. And it's revealed that Krampus was actually the groundskeeper.
Yeah.
Who they pissed off earlier.
So Krampus wasn't actually its own being. It was just a spirit that
that possessed
people. So
if you get angry enough
on Christmas
with Christmas spirit, apparently, Krampus can possess you.
Yeah. So what she does is she kills the groundskeeper who is possessed by Krampus, and then she becomes Krampus because she's angry at her aunt, and then so she takes over as Krampus, and then she murders her aunt, and it's like that's like the end of the story. Her aunt.
Her aunt.
I'm from New England, bro. Leave me alone. Okay. It's Nevada. It's not Nevada.
Oh, you're so wrong. Your aunt.
Anyway, so yeah, it was it was entertaining somewhat. I liked, like you said, I liked Krampus.
Krampus looked awesome.
Krampus looked awesome.
Yeah.
I can't look at 15-year-old panties.
She doesn't look 15. No.
Whatever, dude. I just can't.
I'm sure the actress isn't 15.
Said everyone who's ever been arrested.
Don't incriminate me, Jude.
She didn't look 15. She didn't act it either. Jesus.
Oh, yeah, in the studio right now on the TV is the scene that we mentioned before where the jailbait girl from the ghost story.
Just a very young girl trying to seduce other young men, and it's very disturbing.
A senior, right, in high school?
I think so.
I don't think she's a senior.
No? I don't know. This
sophomore.
Didn't strike me as anything that I haven't seen in other movies where it's like,
what are you watching?
I don't know, Michael Bay movies.
That is not a Michael Bay girl. I'll tell you that.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, so that was that movie. So there's like there's a lot going on in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So before we get like too convoluted, because the movie's convoluted, so it's kind of hard to talk about in like any kind of structure.
I think it's definitely worth a watch. It's
for
fun,
sure.
It's brainless.
It's 99 cents on Prime. It's
The big problem with this movie, so like they wrote each story individually, and then they cut the stories together after they were shot.
Yeah.
And, they had a separate writer for each of the stories. They had a separate director for each of the stories. And the issue is that the stories are paced differently. So like the ghost story one with the teens in the school basement, it's a very slow story, as is the Changeling one. And then the Santa Claus and the Krampus storylines are all very fast paced. Mm-hmm. And so you have this weird mishmash of slow moving stories mixed with fast moving stories. And it just doesn't work, in my opinion. And then like you intersperse, William Shatner in between all these things. And the funny thing,
he's the crypt keeper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The funny thing is like this movie was made by the people who made the movies, the Ginger Snap movies, which are a series of werewolf films. And they're set in the same town, Bailey Downs. And so this movie is part of the Bailey Down or Ginger Snaps cinematic universe.
Oh boy.
Never heard of this thing.
Yeah.
Me neither.
And the Ginger Snaps is also about like teenage girls.
Teenage girls who turn into werewolves.
Ooh, that's interesting.
So what did you guys think about the twist ending for Santa?
That was my favorite part of this movie.
That was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So
I guarantee Kadish is about to say I saw it coming.
Did you see it coming?
Yeah.
As soon as they showed Norman and Norman was in a Zen trance, you knew immediately. I bet you.
The very first time that we see William Shatner, he's talking to Norman, who's kind of looking despondent on the other side of the radio room window.
Yeah.
And he stands up and he slaps a piece of paper on the window that says, "Fuck Christmas."
Yeah.
And you can tell it's the same actor who's playing Santa.
Yeah.
So like the entire time I'm watching the Santa Claus story, I'm like, that's the guy from the radio station. Why?
This is why I hate watching movies.
Yeah, but
with
why?
Kadish.
Like, you don't know the reason why. It just...
Well, obviously the reason why is because the Santa story isn't real. And as the movie went on and Shatner was talking about what was
what's
going
happening
on at the mall.
Ruins the magic of everything.
There's chaos going on
like
at the mall. Nobody
common.
knows what's going on.
I was like, obviously Norman is killing people.
I didn't pick that up. I mean, I didn't even really notice the dude behind the window.
I didn't pick it up until the very end either.
Yeah, which is what they were meant to. Yeah. That's what they were trying to do.
But when they brought it back
for us
to that,
dummies at work.
Yeah.
When they brought it back to that, I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, I liked it too.
I dug that.
They made it even darker than it already was, which I thought was really interesting. Like, oh, this dude had a psychotic break. So what the twist ending for people who haven't seen it yet is Santa, the whole storyline of Santa fighting off zombie elves is actually a figment of the imagination of that one character, Norman.
Storm and Norman.
The
weatherman for the radio station.
Who goes to the mall to promote some kind of a giveaway or food drive or something
Shatner's
like that.
Character is Dangerous Dan.
Dangerous Dan.
The DJ.
I love it.
That's awesome. And so the sequence of events is like, instead of actually killing zombie elves and other creatures of, the North Pole, he's actually just murdering people at the mall, and he's had like a psychotic break. And they reveal this at the end, and I was like, "Oh, that's that's messed up. And I was like, yeah, that's some good freaking dark Christmas humor.
That was pretty dark.
I liked it. I thought it was a cool twist.
In his brain, like all of these zombie elves are like, fuck you, and
fuck
Christmas, and I'm going to kill you, and I'm a zombie. But in reality, they like flash to what's actually happening. And it's just these like poor people working at the mall. They're like, please, Norman, don't kill me.
Yeah.
I just love Christmas and want to wrap presents. And he's like, no, die.
It was pretty messed up.
Yeah, it's messed up.
Very messed up and very gruesome. That one, he was like decapitating people and all kinds of crazy stuff, blood and guts.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a Canadian production, so like it was a micro budget film. They shot it in 22 days up in Canada, you know, in real snow conditions and stuff like that. But I feel like the movie I wanted to see was a feature length version of the Santa Tale, where like, you know, where that ending could have really paid off if like the whole movie, like you're following Santa and you're, you know, seeing like almost kind of like how, you know, Fat Man was, but taken to like a cartoonish degree.
Yeah.
You know? Like I would have liked to have seen that movie as opposed to these 3 other really stupid stories that I didn't care about.
I think it would have been cool
scary.
if like the villain in each of these stories had been the same villain throughout. Like
if it was
had
Krampus
been Krampus
throughout the whole
I
thing.
think that would have been cool.
That would have been
something to tie them together.
Yeah. It was, I mean, they tied together by having like a random character.
Yeah, it was
kind
really
of mismatch in between. It was, I mean, it is what it is. It was entertaining. I'm with Jude. It was at least entertaining.
Yeah.
I had fun with it.
I liked it.
There was a couple of things that were.
Will I watch it again? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I cannot wait for it to be over.
Really?
No.
You didn't like it? Was that bad for you?
It was pretty bad.
Is it because you hate Christmas or you just hate things that are entertaining?
I'm not a huge Christmas fan.
Yeah, I'm not either. One of us.
I like Christmas, but it's
I love Christmas.
You hate fun? Is that
No, I like fun.
I love Christmas and I hated this movie.
I don't know. I think it's entertaining.
Christmas is stress.
Let's do
to me.
There was there something in one of these movies about that?
I don't know.
What, stress?
Yeah, it was Krampus, right? Was it the actual Krampus movie?
Let's talk about that movie.
Okay, we'll talk about that one next. All right, guys. Final thoughts on horror Christmas movie or story.
Christmas
horror,
story.
whatever. Doesn't matter. Vader.
William Shatner and Wild Turkey. That's good stuff. That's all. That was the best part of the movie.
Okay.
Good stuff. Yeah.
All right.
The rest of the movie, nah.
Okay.
Made me feel kind of dirty.
Okay. Jude, how about you?
I
Final
give
thoughts?
it 2 out of 5 bottles of eggnog.
Nice.
Strong.
2 out of 5.
2
okay.
out of 5.
Not terrible. Kadish?
I give it 1 out of 5 Shatners. I would not recommend this movie. I don't think it's fun. I don't think it's interesting. I think it's a low budget schlocky horror movie.
Okay.
And there are better Christmas horror movies to watch.
Absolutely.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I can't argue with that. I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 wild turkey bottles.
You're insane.
I mean, I would recommend to people watch the trailer instead of the movie. Just watch the trailer for a good 90 minutes.
No,
it's better.
If you want to have some goofy, like schlocky horror fun, I think it's well worth a watch. And you get William Shatner in the mix. I can't hate on this movie that much. I think
I'll hate it for you.
3 out of 5 wild turkey bottles. Go check this movie out. It's well worth it. And it's like you said, it's only 99 cents.
I want to know what other movies you've given 3 stars and then ask you
I don't know.
Sahara.
Ratings. Sahara. The ratings system in this podcast
Cowboys
is
and Aliens.
debunk. It's just nonsense. It's the whose line is it anyway?
This is a half star.
Half?
Half a star.
Not that bad.
It's bad.
Half star shit fest.
No.
Crap fest. No, it's a bad movie.
Krampus looked good.
Krampus was cool. Let's talk about that one.
Well,
like
no, he's talking about the Krampus.
I'm talking about the Krampus in this movie.
Oh,
like the 7 foot tall,
yeah,
like
the big
Minotaur.
albino Minotaur.
Yeah.
Krampus.
It was pretty
I'll give
dope.
you that much. That's where my half star goes.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that
I'll give
looked badass.
I'll give half a star to the Krampus and half a star to William Shatner.
Okay, so 1 star.
1 star.
Do you need
There
to
you go.
take anything away for the underage sex?
No, I'll give that a half a star.
Or the incestuous molesting.
We're at a star and a half for uncomfortable teenage sex scene with fully clothed. It was fully clothed.
Yeah, fully clothed.
How about baby changeling boob grabbing?
That was weird.
Yeah, super weird.
It was meant to be weird, guys. That was the whole point.
It was not cool.
All right, whatever. Anyway,
Not
all
cool.
right, guys, that's it for this movie.
If you can call it that.
We'll move on to the next one before we do a quick word from our sponsors.
Geico presents Left Brain versus Right Brain.
You know, we should switch to Geico.
I'm picking up what you're putting down, buddy.
We could save hundreds of dollars a year on car insurance.
Ooh, with that kind of scratch, we can get the band back together for a reunion tour.
A, we were never in a band. B, Glenn let us play the tambourine on stage one time. And C, we will, however, put that savings towards a new interview suit.
Look what I found. Huh? Still got it.
Oh, no.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
The holidays are bustling with activity. Handle it all with Happy Honda Days. Bringing skis to the cabin? The Honda CR-V and HR-V make it easy. Take on the season with financing as low as 0.9% APR on the 2020 CR-V and as low as 1.9% APR on the 2021 HR-V on select models for well-qualified buyers.
Find your perfect ride at your Hampton Roads Honda dealer today.
See dealer for financing details.
Welcome back, everybody. All right, before we get into the next movie that we're going to talk about, Krampus, real quick, if you would like to buy some merch from us and get some cool designs, you can go to saltynerdstore.com. There you will get stickers and T-shirts and hoodies and, you know, get ready for the Christmas season if you want to gift somebody or a gift for yourself. Treat yourself to some Salty Nerd swag. Go to saltynerdstore.com. Swag. I used to call it salty swag, but you guys were like, this sounds gross.
It does sound gross.
So I can't do that anymore. All right, the next movie on our list is Krampus, the Christmas horror movie.
2015.
Again.
Krampus.
Yeah.
With a budget of $15 million.
That's it?
Mm-hmm.
Damn,
What do you think it made?
I don't know. They did pretty good for $15 million, though. I'm going to say it made $45 million.
Vader?
I would probably be around that ballpark.
Okay. Kadish, do you already know? Okay.
Of course he does.
Yeah. $61.5 million.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good job.
Nice little gain there. It was rated PG-13. And
well-deserved.
Here's the synopsis. Okay. So it's about this family, and it's a family of mom, dad, son, daughter. The son, his name is Max. He still believes in Christmas and in Santa and is prepared to fight to defend it. But when his horrible extended family visits for Christmas, he's had enough ridicule from like his cousins and they're awful. And he turns his back on Christmas, which accidentally summons Krampus, the anti-Santa. And then a blizzard locks in the neighborhood. Nobody can get out. Snowmen start to fill up the yard. One by one, the family starts getting picked off. And discuss.
I thoroughly enjoyed this movie.
I liked this movie. I thought it was really well done.
This was great.
I had a great time with this.
Toni Collette stars, and what's her husband's name in this?
Her husband's name is Tom, but it's played by actor Adam Scott.
Adam Scott, yeah, he's great in this.
Yeah, from you've seen him in Parks and Rec.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Step Brothers.
Yep. Parks and Rec is his main thing. He's Ben from Parks and Rec.
Oh yeah. This
cast is great.
Talking about the uncle, right?
No. The main dad.
Oh, the main dad.
Yeah, the main dad is Ben from Parks and Rec.
David Kocher plays the uncle, and he was an Anchorman.
Anchorman.
That's right.
And
That's
The
where
Office.
I saw him from.
Yeah.
The Office.
Because I watched this whole thing. Well, man, what other movies has he been in? Because I'm not an Office guy. I've never watched it. So, but I know it's weird. It's on my list. I just haven't had time.
Good God.
I know you just totally gave me
down.
You totally gave me that meme.
You live for finding something to get outraged about when you haven't seen most shit.
No, it's like The Office is huge though. You've never seen it?
I just never was into it.
It's on like repeat at my house all the time. My wife hates it.
Yeah,
it's so funny. I play it while I'm cooking. I have it like set up on, and I'm like, never mind, doesn't matter. Go ahead.
But it's funny because Adam Scott and David Kocher are like big comedic actors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and even though like they're kind of funny in this movie, they're very they're playing it straight.
Yeah. I mean, there's comedic elements to this.
I never really picked up on this as a comedy.
It's not a comedy, but there's comedic relief based off of the situations that they're in.
This movie is like, what if you take a Christmas Vacation and turn it into a horror movie?
Yeah.
National Lampoon's Christmas.
Like it starts off kind of funny. Like it starts off like it's in slow motion and these parents are running towards the stage and there's a fight on the stage. There's obviously a school play.
Yeah.
And these two kids
it's like a Christmas sale. Like they're in a
Oh, yes. Okay. So it starts off with like a Black Friday thing.
Yeah.
Almost. Like you see
you're talking about the montage?
Yeah, the credit sequence in the beginning. Is that what you were talking about? Or were you talking about the actual start of like introducing the characters?
No, I was talking about the story.
The introduction of the characters is a little different, but it's all still in slow motion. Like the opening credit sequence is just like everything that you can imagine wrong with materialism and Christmas spirit and all the bogus nonsense that people buy into during the season.
Like people are trampling over each other, trying to get to, you know, the gifts they want to buy. They're getting tased by mall security. They're just being horrible to one another.
So it does a really good job of setting up like the anti-Christmas spirit, like the stuff that the negative aspects of everything that we think about holiday season. And then it goes into the fight at the school play.
Yeah, I mean, the introduction of this family. It starts off, I think it starts off really funny. Like these two parents, Toni Collette and Adam Scott, are running towards this stage. And their kid has started a fist fight in the middle of a school play. But the reason behind it, they bring him home, and the reason behind it was because one of the kid that he was fighting with didn't believe in Santa, didn't believe in Christmas, and was spoiling it for the other kids, and he had to put a stop to it. It's kind of adorable. Yeah. He's like, I was defending Christmas. Yeah. It's cute.
It's justified.
And they come home, and they like come in like into the home, and here's the German grandmother who is obviously the reason why he believes so strongly in Santa, and she's like speaking in German, and she's like, oh, you've got to believe in the...
I love how she only talks in German to him.
She's so sweet and cute and adorable.
And she's making so many Christmas treats.
Yeah.
in the kitchen.
Yeah, and like her son comes in and kisses her on the cheek, but he like kind of undercuts her, and he's like, don't feel like you have to make too much because we bought some from the store. And she's you could see like the deflation of her face.
They call her Omi.
Yeah.
It's a cool dynamic because you can see
Omi.
You can see the family is kind of falling prey to the worst side of things. Like the dad's preoccupied with work. You know, nobody cares about the kids that much. The daughter's got her own issues going on.
Yeah, she's on her phone constantly.
Like there's the typical family problems of the modern age going on in this thing. And then
and Max, the son, you know, he's having this crisis where like, you know, he so wants Christmas to be special. And his family's just ruining it for him.
And he's like, but I thought we were going to do this like we used to. I thought we were going to do that like we used to. And then when we get to the scene where his cousin has stolen his letter to Santa and she's reading it aloud at the Christmas table, everything that he asked for Christmas was stuff for his family. Like, I wish mom and dad would fall in love again. I wish that my aunt and uncle weren't having such hard times.
Very genuine wishes. Nothing really for himself. He just wants everybody to be happy. But the scene where they introduce the family members is very much like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Like they come in, they're like the trailer park trash.
They're awful.
Loud, obnoxious, Americana.
I love Berta, the aunt.
Yeah, the aunt.
The aunt was my favorite character.
It's the worst.
Oh, I really think I'm going to be her when I'm older. It's very, very scary to me.
Give me some of that Christmas cheer.
She's like, okay, fine, I'll babysit the kids. Here's how to make a Mai Tai or whatever.
No, he's like, hey kids, you want to learn how to make peppermint schnapps?
Yeah.
She's just
but Jude, you've given me something to look forward to in our old age now.
I hope later on in your life you end up liking peppermint schnapps. And that's how I can make you happy.
It was funny, but the whole dynamic really worked. I think it sold the idea that this family is just falling apart at the seams, and the only one that's trying to hold it together is the young kid.
Yeah,
the young
and then he breaks.
He snaps.
Yeah, he snaps,
and he rips up his letter, and he curses his family and Christmas.
It triggers Krampus.
And it triggers Krampus.
Yep. And then
the clouds come.
Horror ensues, man. Like from this point on, this movie just goes super dark.
You know, this movie reminded me of what made 80s movies great. Like this is basically an 80s movie.
It really is.
It does feel like that. Yeah, you're right. The practical effects with all of these little demonized creatures.
I gotta find the Funko Pops for this. Because I know there's some out there. I know there's one for the bear.
Oh, is there really?
Bear,
Oh, that bear is super freaky.
Yeah. So.
So what's the first? The daughter leaves, right? And that's what kind of sets this off.
She's gonna go check on her boyfriend.
She's not getting a cell signal.
Well, hold on. So basically, once the Krampus curse descends on the town, there's this huge blizzard, and all electricity goes out.
Yeah, cell service, electricity,
and so the daughter, who was kind of FaceTiming with her boyfriend, she gets worried that he's not texting her back. And so she wants to go down the street to his house in order to just check on him. And the parents of the year are like, yeah, sure. Go out in this terrible blizzard and
get lost.
Well, to be fair, she's walked to his house a million times before, and it's only a few blocks away. And she says, we don't really know what's going on. So why don't I, on the way, check and see if anyone else's electricity is on and just kind of scope out the neighborhood.
They try and justify it, which is fine. I mean, she's not like young. She's old enough to be able to.
She's like 15 probably.
Not older than that.
You think?
Yeah. Yeah. Because the kid's what, 13, 12?
So I would say Max is probably 12.
Or Max?
Yeah, Max.
And I would say the daughter is probably 15, 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would have said older than that, but all right. Anyway.
I mean, she's walking. She's not like, can I drive?
Well,
so.
I think that was because they can't drive in that storm. I think she was just going to walk down the street. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I thought it was just completely fine that they were like, yeah, go ahead, just be careful. You know, it's only a couple houses down, whatever. I wasn't like questioning their ethics at that point. I was like, oh yeah, it's fine, whatever. Because they didn't know what was going on. But I love the setup of like the way that they use the camera of having Krampus always like somewhere hidden in the background, and these like creepy little snowmen are being built everywhere.
Those snowmen were super creepy.
Freaky as hell.
They were straight up weird.
Yeah. I was freaked out.
Those were nightmares, like snowmen.
Yes.
And it's funny because Max is looking out the window and he notices like 2 snowmen.
Yeah.
And it's basically like everyone who dies in the town becomes a snowman.
Yeah.
And like at first it's just these 2 snowmen on the yard. And he's like, where'd these snowmen come from? And he goes to his parents and like, did you guys notice the snowmen on the front yard? And they're like, no, whatever.
Yeah.
Think nothing of it.
It's outside. Who cares about what's happening out there?
Yeah. And then as the movie goes on, more and more snowmen appear in the yard.
Yeah.
And it starts getting really creepy.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of funny because Michael Dougherty, the guy who wrote and directed this movie, he was a protege of Bryan Singer, the guy who directed the X-Men movies and stuff like that. And, you know, he had made this horror movie called Trick or Treat.
With that little like burlap sack monster thing.
Yeah,
that was a super freaky movie.
Yeah, so like he has like this horror background, and you know he always wanted to make it like a scary Christmas movie, and I think when he was in college, a friend of him sent him like an e-card, you know, like those old e-cards that you'd send through the email, and it was of Krampus, and he looked at that, he was like, oh my god, that's the freakiest thing, and so he started doing research into Krampus, and so he had this idea going on for a long time. And he wanted to make like a dark Christmas family film. And, you know, I think he pulled it off masterfully. This was a movie, it wasn't super scary. So like it felt kind of like a family film.
I don't know about that, buddy.
Well, what I mean is not necessarily for kids, but like the family dynamic in the film is really what kind of drives it.
Yeah.
And you have these dark elements kind of slowly introduced to it. And it really did feel like one of those like Spielbergian 80s movies that I grew up on. I loved it.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I had a good time.
Like to me, this will become like, you know, regular Christmas viewing.
Oh, for real? Nice.
Yeah. Because
makes
like,
me really happy.
yeah. And you know, they have that formula. It's the Night of the Living Dead formula where you have just these people trapped in a house and things slowly start getting like really bad. But the cool stuff comes from the character interactions. Like at first, the 2 dads played by, you know, Adam Scott and David Koechner, their names are Tom and Howard, and like they don't see eye to eye at all. Like Howard thinks Tom is kind of like a pansy.
He's like, I'm sorry, I thought you were a pussy all those years.
No, a spineless dick. And I'm like, what exactly is a spineless dick?
And Tom thinks Howard is just like a redneck, or like whatever. Yeah. And then like as the movie goes on and they're forced to team up together, they have this kind of growing respect for one another, where all of a sudden like Howard's obsession with the Second Amendment and arming himself.
I love it.
It isn't terrible because like you know, they need these guns now.
Yeah, you need these things,
so
right?
They're like, do you have any weapons? And he looks at him like, of course I do. And he opens up the trunk. He's got this full size shotgun,
arsenal in
full
there.
And Howard's obnoxious truck is actually, you know, practical in this blizzard.
Yeah,
because like they can't use their little Priuses to go find the daughter.
Yeah. I love it. He's like, you think your truck can make it through the storm? He's like, bro, it's like I can point east and not stop till I get to China.
but then there's a scene where basically something under the snow grabs Howard and it's trying to drag him, you know, down somewhere
into the netherworld.
Yeah, and Tom actually like saves him.
Yeah, by shooting it,
and you know, saves his life and gets him back to the house. And so like, you know, then you have like the 2 mothers, the sisters, kind of like, you know, reconciling their differences. And, you know, even the aunt, the terrible aunt, is kind of like, you know, starts, you know, making headway. So you have all these crazy characters,
a lot of character development,
and you see them come together during this crisis, and it's really interesting because like you get into these characters.
Yeah.
And
what was great was like as soon as you start getting into a character and start sympathizing with a character, they kill him.
Yeah.
Awesome. I started going, okay, who's gonna go first, and then who's gonna go next?
Yeah.
Try to start figuring out who's gonna.
Yeah, who's gonna bite it?
But it's not a gory movie.
No, it's not a gory movie.
No, but I will say, like, this is a perfect segue.
The creature design is crazy.
I want to segue into that.
I really like the creature design.
Oh yeah, the set design.
Set design and creature design of like these little like not Next Krampus level. Himself, but the minions of Krampus.
Yeah, I didn't actually love the way the Krampus looked. I thought it looked better in Christmas Horror Story.
I thought the Krampus in this was really good.
It was like
he has like a Ed Gein skin face over his.
Yeah, he looks like he's a screaming Santa Claus.
I kind of like got this vibe. It was like kind of half. Who's the guy that made Nightmare Before Christmas?
Tim Burton.
Kind of a Tim Burton mixed with a Clive Barker kind of feel to it.
I can see that.
It was weird.
But the little minions, dude, these things were freaking freaky.
Oh yeah, the elves.
The
Krampus elves.
Yes. Yeah. The one in the Jack in the Box, I think, freaked me out the most.
Yeah. Like the whole kind of thing here is that Krampus is a playful demon. So like he likes to kind of take what Santa does and turn it on its head because he's Santa's shadow.
Yeah.
And so like all the toys that would normally bring cheer to people, all the gingerbread cookies that
cookies were hilarious.
Those were my favorite.
Yeah, his elves, they're all like nightmare versions of what normally Santa would be delivering.
Yeah. Right.
And they're horrifying.
They are, dude.
In the most wholesome way possible.
It was the one that freaked me out the most was the one that was like in the Jack in the Box, but the more people that it ate, the bigger it got.
That was freaky.
And it was like this weird, like
these like mandibles.
Yeah.
It's like, I think this movie would have like messed me up if I had seen it when I was a kid.
Yeah, for sure.
So my wife was really funny. She goes, our granddaughter would probably really like this movie. she's like 7.
Yeah.
But
7?
She's like she's a trip. Yeah, she's
you got
cool.
You got the Jack. That was my favorite. The second favorite was the teddy bear. This teddy bear was freaking horrendous. It was.
I liked all of them.
Yeah,
I thought they were all great.
The little minion ones, like that, kind of showed up more towards the end. They were just like random people with like
the elves,
creepy masks.
Yeah.
It was fine. They were fine. But the ones that really struck me was the Jack in the Box and the teddy bear. Those two like really stood out to me as being like ultra creepy,
right?
And they were the ones that were murdering most of the people.
That teddy bear just like would just
bite your head off,
eat your face.
Yeah, it was so disgusting.
Like wow.
Yeah, it was. This movie did a great job of like taking you through the process of this family being torn apart by these like minions.
It's definitely
while also bringing the characters themselves closer together.
Yeah, so like the ending of the movie did not surprise me. It didn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, let's get there in a second.
Ending, like there was like a lot of really cool stuff. So like they create this mythology around the Krampus, which is a German folklore.
Yeah,
and there's a part where Omi, the German grandmother, tells her story about Krampus, and it kind of fills in a few of the
with some really cool animation. It was a really cool.
Animation.
Oh yeah,
it was an animated flashback.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm sorry. I just think that's what I'm kind of picking up on the Tim Burton vibe for this movie.
Yeah.
There's some influence there.
Caroline and something like that. Was it animated or was it like a stop motion thing?
It was animated.
Animated?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you know what? It was James and the Giant Peach.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it reminded me of.
That style of animation. Yeah.
Yeah.
But she tells her story about when she was a little girl and her village lost the Christmas spirit and they were all turning on one another. And Krampus came and basically collected everyone and, put them in their place, and they left. And he left her behind as a witness to tell people, this is what happens when Krampus comes for you.
With his little Christmas bell.
Yeah. Okay. So like the entire time that stuff starts happening, Omi keeps a fire going in the fireplace.
Oh yeah. That was super. Yeah. Keep the fire hot.
Yeah. She's like, keep the fire hot. And basically the idea is that when Krampus invades a home, he comes down the chimney just like St. Nick does.
Mm-hmm.
But when he comes down the chimney, it like breaks the wall. It breaks everything.
He sent that like chain with the hook on it down.
Yeah, I was fishing for the fat kid.
Uh-huh.
There was this one scene. This was early on in the movie, not early, but like maybe halfway through the movie, where there was this one obnoxious cousin that was like an overweight small kid. Who obviously
he never talked. He looked like he was like really doughy.
His dad was like grooming him to be a linebacker.
No, he was grooming his 2 daughters to be a linebacker.
No, it was the son too.
Yeah.
It was all 3 of them, I think, because this is like the dad's, like the stereotypical dad's dad who's like, I want boys, but I can have a football team.
He had like twin daughters, but he was basically treating them just like boys.
Yeah.
In fact, I turned to Jude. I was like, "Isn't that one really a boy?"
No. No, they were both girls. But anyway, so the Krampus, when he first shows up, is he dangles this gingerbread cookie in the chimney with this giant like meat hook attached to it, and the fat kid's like, "Oh, cookie," and he just like walks over to it and starts eating the cookie. And as he's eating the cookie, the gingerbread cookie comes alive, goes, "Ah!" like screams at him, and then the hook wraps around him and drags him up the chimney.
It's funny because when the 2 dads went to check on the boyfriend of the daughter, there was like this gingerbread, cookie stabbed to the refrigerator, and you're looking at it and you're just kind of like, what the heck is that? Why is that there? And then like later on in the movie you find out, the gingerbread people are evil.
Yeah, it's awesome. It was a great setup, and I think you shared that screenshot. You were this movie's crazy.
I'm getting into the Christmas spirit.
And it is funny because like they end up fighting the toys, and at the beginning, like once the blizzard appears, like Krampus had left his bag of toys on their doorstep in order to like lure them into bringing it into their home. Like Krampus was like a sadistic,
it's a Trojan horse
of
Christmas
sadistic
presents.
Yeah. And like they were never safe in their home.
No, it was the only thing that kept them safe was the fire. Once they let the fire go out, it was like game on. And things just started really, really happening. And this movie was just so much fun from start to finish. It never let up. Once the evilness started, it just was like full bore, 100%. People were dying. So let's talk about the ending, because it's kind of a dark and twisted ending.
I kind of loved the way that this ended.
It was really weird. So
it was a happily ever after, and also really messed up.
Yeah, really dark. So early on, it kind of sets up that the grandmother was like, I remember when Krampus came to my family and he left me alone, alive, as like a warning to others about him.
So Max thinks that he's pretty much safe.
Yeah, Max at the end of the movie realizes that everybody else is dead except for him.
So Max thinks he's pretty much safe.
Yeah.
And Krampus has his cousin, and he's about to like throw her in this pit. And what I thought was that Max was going to sacrifice himself for his family, and that was going to reset everything. So, which is kind of what he tries to do. Yeah,
it was super weird. Like not weird, but like super dark, because he walks up and they kind of do this like he hears his grandmother's warning overdubbed over the scene.
Well, right. But before we get into this, so basically the whole family's escaping the house. Okay. And they're trying to make it to a snowplow in order to get out of town. And both mothers get taken by, weird underground, under snow monsters.
They never really show
snow
what that
elves.
Is it snow elves?
They're just the elves.
Elves? Okay.
Well, it kills elves too. It took
snow.
Oh, that's right.
Away.
Yeah, it was like some weird ground monster that kept eating people.
Yeah. So basically, Max and his one surviving cousin make it to the snowplow, and they're the last ones left, and then 2 elves like kidnap the
last remaining cousin.
The cousin. So Max is on his own. And just like with his grandmother, basically Krampus leaves him with a Krampus ornament as someone to bear witness. And
he's taking his grandmother's place as the witness of Krampus. So he confronts Krampus finally. He sees him. He's got his like twisted looking sleigh. All the elves are with him, and he's getting ready to like kidnap all the people and kill everybody. And Max is like, he's just kind of like last ditch effort to save people.
He's like, take me instead.
And this giant creepy Krampus thing just like picks him up by the scuff of his neck, and he's like, you see the full, the horns and the face, and he's like, the kid's just crying, just take me and
he's
save
like,
everybody.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's saying I'm sorry. He's trying to fix things.
You kind of think maybe
I thought it would work.
Christmas miracle, but no. He chucks the cousin in the pit, and then he chucks Max in too.
Chucks Max in too.
Yeah. Well, like when Max is like, take me instead. There's a moment there where like Krampus kind of reaches out with his like twisted claw.
Oh, and takes the tear away.
Takes the tear, and then he just starts laughing at him.
I got chills when you said that. That's so freaky, man.
Yeah. And the minute he starts laughing, you know that like Max's like big heroic moment doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved is that this climax kind of really subverted your expectations in a good way, because in the typical 80s kids movie, the kid goes and confronts the monster,
okay.
and his sacrifice is the thing that resets everything.
It saves Christmas.
Yeah, no. Not in this movie.
No. So he gets thrown into the freaking pit of hell, and I think it just transfers over to him.
He wakes up.
And
it's Christmas morning.
He's with his family.
His family's happy.
Yeah,
and
everything's good.
Toni Collette's hair looks good.
And okay. And he just kind of realizes, like, he in his head thinks, oh, it worked. Like, my wish came true. I fixed everything. Everybody's happy. And then the camera pans out and you realize that he's inside.
Well, he opens his first present and it's the Krampus.
Oh, it's the bell, right?
Bell.
Yeah.
And so basically everyone of the family members starts to remember what actually happened once they see that ornament.
Yeah, they all start looking at each other like, wait a second.
And then when the camera pans out and they're trapped inside a snow globe.
Yeah.
And then what I got from that was that they have to relive Christmas over and over again every
they're
day
in purgatory or whatever.
For forever.
Yeah. I got
which
that
is
too.
hell.
And you see, like, the whole area where all these family snow globes are is like inside the realm of Krampus.
Hundreds of snow globes.
It was super dark.
Yeah.
It like did not leave on a good note at all.
What a great movie.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, pretty good.
All right. Let's do final thoughts on Krampus. Matt Vader, give this thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs up. Way up. Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie.
How many Krampus bells do you give this movie?
I don't know, 3.
3? That's pretty good.
2.5.
Really?
Yeah, I think 2.5.
Wow, I just thought it would be higher than that.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't my kind of movie that I really am into. I mean, but it's good. I enjoyed it, and I'll certainly watch it again if I need to for some reason.
Okay, for another episode 2 of the podcast.
Yeah, whatever.
Jude, final thoughts on Krampus?
I loved it. I gave it 4 out of 5 Krampus bells. And
nice.
I could watch it again and again.
Right on. Very cool. And Kadish, final thoughts and give this some Krampus bell ratings.
I loved this movie. I give it 5 out of 5 gingerbread men.
Oh,
dang.
Get out of here.
5 out of 5 demonistic gingerbread men.
I'm sorry, but that's ridiculous.
I feel like this is a movie I could watch over and over again and never get tired of it. Like, it really does bring me back to, like, a really good 80s movie in the Spielbergian sense. Like we're going to talk about Gremlins here in a second, but I feel it's up there with like Gremlins and Scrooged and stuff like that, where it's at its core, it's just a really good movie.
Yeah.
This movie was way better than Gremlins.
But the fact that like it has like, the Christmas element to it, and it has like some great actors and some great writing and some great imagination, and the set design and the creature design and everything in this movie just worked.
It worked.
And you could also argue about what the ending meant. Like there are different interpretations of like how this movie ended. And it was just like, it was a really good movie. I was honestly surprised because like I had been avoiding this movie for a long time because I just don't like Christmas horror movies. I like my Christmas to be wholesome, like John McClane type wholesome.
Yeah, there you go.
But when we sat down to watch it, I was kind of trepidatious because I was like, I really don't think I'm going to like this movie. And the fact that I ended up loving it was a really pleasant surprise.
Nice.
It was the ultimate subversion of expectations.
It was a Christmas miracle.
Right on.
So I highly recommend it.
I'm with you. I really didn't expect to enjoy this movie. Christmas movies are not my favorite. Horror movies are not my favorite. So the mix of the two, I was like, oh God, I was kind of dreading this, but this one in particular was really well done. I loved all the characters. I'm a big fan of some of the actors in this movie too. So I think that probably put me in the right direction. The
actors in this movie were really good.
Yeah, they were really good. And I love them in some of their other work too. So it was a nice little like, oh, I didn't know he was in this. That's freaking cool. So there was a lot to love about this movie. And I think the horror aspect really worked. I think the creature design was super freaky. And I love that it was all practical. Like the only thing that was CGI was the gingerbread men. And they did that sparingly. And I think they did it really well.
I thought it looked good.
Yeah. The practical effects, you guys know I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. So I was sold hook, line, and sinker. I loved it. I had a great time. If you're into demon possession and crazy Krampus Christmas stuff, highly recommended.
5 out of 5. That's like Indiana Jones stuff, dude. There's no way.
I think this is a new classic.
I think you're crazy.
Wow. You got a 2.
2.5.
That's so weird. All right, guys, before we move on to our last and final topic, Gremlins, the 80s classic, let's take a quick break to listen to some sponsors.
Under NASA's Artemis program, Dynetics and Leidos will develop and build a new human landing system, advancing economic opportunities and paving the way for a sustained lunar economy. Learn more at DyneticsHLS.com.
You can't control what's outside your home, but you can control what comes in. Because Clorox Disinfecting Wipes kill 99.9% of viruses and bacteria, including COVID-19 virus, when used as directed on hard, non-porous surfaces. So whether it's from dirty doorknobs, dirty shoes, or something else, outside germs won't stand a chance. When it counts, trust Clorox. Kill Pseudomonas, Salmonella, and influenza virus type A2. Kill SARS-CoV-2 on hard, non-porous surfaces. Use as directed.
Welcome back, everybody. All right, hey, real quick, if you like this podcast and you like our content, we are moving into a new social media realm. We are starting to amp up our Discord app. So if you like Discord, or if you have it, or even if you don't, go check it out. There's a lot of cool stuff we can do there. We just had an awesome watch party where I actually watched Gremlins for the first time with a handful of our close friends and listeners of the podcast. We had a ton of fun doing it. Shout out to those guys. So if you're into that kind of thing and you want to watch me watch crazy movies for the first time and have fun reactions, go to our Discord server, and there you can have access to some cool content. All right, let's talk about Gremlins. Jude, why don't you tell us what this movie's all about?
Gremlins from 1984 with a budget of $11 million.
$1 million. Nice.
How much?
$11 million?
$11 million. What do you think it made?
That's pretty big for 80s movies.
84? Yeah, that's big. Big money.
That's big money.
Yeah.
Big money. I'm going to say it made $32 million.
Okay, Vader, what's your guess?
45.
$153.6 million.
That's why it's a classic.
This is a classic. Rated PG, so everyone can watch it.
It should have been PG-13, but that didn't exist. That didn't exist back then.
So Billy Peltzer's dad, who's an inventor, got him a new pet for Christmas, but it comes with 3 rules. Keep it out of bright light, don't get it wet, and never, ever feed it after midnight. So Phoebe Cates is Billy's love interest in the movie. She does not celebrate Christmas because of a tragedy that happened on Christmas when she was a kid. Mrs. Deagle owns the town and is basically Scrooge. She loves money and cats. Corey Feldman is a neighborhood kid and friend of Billy's and teaches us what happens when the mogwai gets wet. Billy's dad, the inventor, is working the invention circuit looking for his big break, but all of his inventions are kind of crappy and flawed and very snafu-y. The star of this movie is Dick Miller. He plays Mr. Futterman, a down-on-his-luck townie that seems to know an awful lot about gremlins. As a kid, personally, I always thought that Billy was a teenager in this movie, but upon rewatching it as an adult, I realized he's in his 20s. And then we learn that sunlight will kill the mogwai, water makes them multiply, and then feeding it after midnight turns them into monsters. Mm-hmm. So on day 1 of having this new pet, the mogwai, Billy blinds it like 3 times with light. On day 2, it gets wet. On day 4, he feeds them after midnight. And on day 5, we have our monsters.
Yes. Okay, so as a first-time viewer, this movie's tone was all over the place. It was bad. Elements of it that I loved. Specifically, the mom versus the monsters. I want to see.
She was the real hero.
I want to see that freaking movie 2 hours long.
Mrs. Peltzer.
Yeah, Mrs. Peltzer.
Billy's mom was badass.
Dude, she is awesome. Like that was
She took out like 3 gremlins.
That 15 minutes was amazing. I was like jumping out of my chair, like, yes. She was like putting them in blenders and microwaving them until they blew up. I loved it. It was amazing. The rest of the movie was shit. The dumb, like,
agreed, sir.
The dumb 80s, like, Spielbergian kids movie garbage with them, like, doing in the bar and in the movie theater. I'm just like, oh, Jesus.
I love the bar scene.
It was so dumb.
It's my favorite.
Like that was Jude's life for like a good couple of years when she was waitressing.
I just like the dark tone and like the really like murderous, like, you know, in line with some of the other movies we watched this week, like the more like scary elements of this movie really worked for me. I loved it. I thought it was cool.
Dark family movie.
Yeah,
genre.
But like then they completely undercut that with like these goofy, schlocky like 80s tropes, and I was just like, oh my god, come on, man! Like if they would have kept with that dark tone, I would have been.
I just
over
felt
the
like
moon.
it was Steven Spielberg having fun with puppets.
yeah, there was a lot of that.
Yeah, it was bad.
I can't fault it for that though, because that was kind of like the technology of the time. So I'm trying not to be too hard on it in that aspect. But
well, you know what's funny about the puppet thing? If I can just interject here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, you know, they were trying to figure out how to do the Gremlins, and the studio said, like, why don't we get some trained monkeys and put them in Gremlins outfits, and we can do this. And this special effects supervisor was like, no, we should go with puppets. And so like the studio was like, no, let's try the monkey thing. And so like they put this trained monkey in a Gremlins outfit, and it freaked out and tore it off and like ran away. and when this happened, Joe Dante just turned to the special effects guy and was like, so puppets? and the guy was like, puppets.
Yeah, puppets. Yeah. I don't fault it for that. I think there could have been some changes made to the way they filmed it to sell the puppets a little bit better.
I felt like besides the puppets, I felt like this was like a bunch of different like Kill Burnett show skits thrown together, and
like Fraggle Rock.
So did you?
I don't know, man. This movie. I remember I watched this when I was 14, 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was dumb then. I didn't like it then. I'd forgotten about this movie until this week when we had to watch it, and it was just terrible.
You sound like me when I talk about the Goonies.
I know.
Yeah,
but
that's the same way I feel.
It wasn't Corey Feldman. It was Billy. He was awful.
He was useless.
He was absolutely awful. His
useless.
character is stupid. He was completely one-dimensionally acted. He had the same fucking expression on his face the entire show.
He did.
I was like, oh, my mom's being attacked. Oh, get off of her, smash. It's like, my town's burning down.
Oh, my teacher's decapitated.
It's like my teacher's been murdered.
Corey Feldman was actually cast first in this movie, and Billy was supposed to be a 13-year-old kid just like him. And then they ended up
going for
hiring Zach Gallagher and then aging him up for this.
Yeah, I mean, I just
Galligan.
didn't know what I was watching.
Yeah, it was all over the place.
It was all over the place.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, look, we got stop motion Gremlins. We have puppet Gremlins.
Well,
we have
what's
whatever
funny?
Gremlins. It's just...
So Joe Dante, the guy who directed this movie, if you guys remember, he did The Howling, and he also did Inner Space.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of your problem, because we did a focus show on Inner Space, and a lot of your problem with Inner Space was the tone.
Yeah.
And Joe Dante's kind of shtick is that, he does horror movies, but he tries to make them comedic in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And so like you're constantly trying to balance these two things, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
I tend to think it works with Gremlins and with Inner Space. And stuff
I've never
like
thought
that.
of this as a horror movie.
Well, it was originally supposed to be much more horror focused, but Spielberg actually dialed a lot of that stuff back. Like for instance, the teacher who dies, in the movie, he's under a desk and he's got like a syringe in his butt and he's dead. But in the original script, he was supposed to have like 50 syringes in his face.
Oh, that would have been great. Yeah. See, I think they should have amped up the horror aspect of that, because I think that was the
but
part.
Then it couldn't have been as family friendly because this is rated PG. So
it would have been better if it was R.
See, I mean, back then there was like PG movies,
and then R movies,
which most of them should have been probably PG-13.
Yeah.
And then there was R-rated movies, which were boobs. So it was a weird transitional phase. Yeah, it really was. The mid 80s were strange that way.
But there's a lot of fun stuff in this movie that I absolutely love, and it has to do with like the people in the town.
Okay, go for it. What's your take on this movie?
Mr. Futterman is the best.
Mr. Futterman's the best, played by Dick Miller. And he's like one of these guys who like he hates anything foreign.
Yeah.
like he's like the ultimate nationalist.
He reminds me of my dad.
Where he
he's
blames
like, is that American made?
Yeah, he blames everything on foreign parts, and he's like, these goddamn foreign cars.
Yeah, I drive my American
tractor. They got teeny tiny Gremlins for your wristwatches.
And he's like, he's like, I should have bought an American TV. Should have gotten a Zenith. Like everything that's wrong in the world is because of like foreign made products. There were this guy.
Definitely some parts in his living room that took me straight to my grandparents' house.
Oh, for sure.
The TV, the chair with the Afghan.
I like how his wife is like, you got the thingy. And he's like, the remote control.
That's 100% my grandparents right there.
And you got Mrs. Putterman, who has the best death of any person in any movie ever.
You mean Mrs. Deagle?
Yes. I'm sorry, Mrs. Deagle. So like when I was a kid and watching this movie, there's this old woman with like this chair that goes up the stairs.
The Stairmaster.
One of these days, I'll get you that chair, baby.
I want to go out like she goes out. Okay,
I can guarantee it.
So like the Gremlins hotwire this chair, and when she gets on the chair, it zips up the stairs at like 60 miles an hour and propels her through the window.
Catapults her out of her house.
Yeah, she crashes through the window, goes flying through the air, and plummets to her death. And like that was the scene that probably disturbed me the most when I was a kid.
It's very traumatic.
Yeah, it's very.
What's funny is the chair actually spun up like 12 stories.
Yeah,
but it was
and
like
she
a
went out
2-story
the
house.
second floor of the house. Yeah.
Well, she had a winding staircase.
Yeah, it was cinematic.
Yeah,
it was for the credit.
But you've also got the sheriff and his deputy.
Worst sheriff and deputy.
Completely useless.
Yeah. But it's funny because Deputy Brent
is played by
Jonathan Banks,
who was
Mike from Better Call Saul.
Badass from Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
And I was like, one of the guys that I was watching this with is like, you know who that is? And I was looking at him like, is that the dude? Is that
Mike?
That guy?
when he was young and normal looking.
Yeah, it was so crazy. That guy's like a super badass in all the TV shows.
I think my favorite part with them was when Santa Claus, the guy, the mall Santa dude, is getting attacked.
And he just slides down the
what's that all over him? And he's all, help me, God, help me. And they just roll up the window and drive off. And they drive off.
Just useless.
Are you freaking kidding me right now?
Useless cops, man.
And then you've got Judge Reinhold, who plays
the douche
Gerald
for like 3 seconds.
Yeah,
and it's funny because like when he's trying to pick up Phoebe Cates, his character, he's always like,
"Hey, I got cable TV."
Yeah, in the 80s, instead of Netflix and chill, it was like, "Hey, I got cable.
I got TBS."
Can we talk about her for a second? Because like, not only is she freaking gorgeous, I know she's from other movies that also are amazing,
which also star Judge Reinhold.
Yeah. Both her and Judge Reinhold had just come off of Fast Times at Ridgemont High before doing this movie.
Yeah, and there's a scene that many young men at that age cannot
entered puberty.
Yeah. She's an icon. I thought she was gorgeous in this movie, but there was a scene where she describes her reason why she hates Christmas, and I was like,
dark.
Oh my God.
Super dark.
It was like the darkest part of this movie.
It's so dark, it's comedic.
No, I would not. I did not laugh at all. I was like,
the best part is in the sequel to this movie where she starts doing another like Abraham Lincoln story.
That is the best.
Yeah.
Like tragedy befalls her on every holiday, and she's like, I got to tell you the reason why I hate Abraham Lincoln's birthday.
And they just interrupt her because they don't have time for that.
What holiday is the sequel on?
It's not a holiday.
No.
Because I hated this movie so much when I was a kid that I've completely forgotten that there was a sequel.
The sequel is so different from this movie. It's like the difference between Wolf Cop
slapstick.
and Another Wolf Cop.
Yeah.
You know? But like everyone in the town is just like so well defined for me. Like I love that town, and in fact that town is the town square for Back to the Future.
Yeah. Same
And,
set, but they just changed things around a little bit.
The theater they blow up is the theater from Back to the Future and stuff like that. So like
Save the clock tower.
Yeah, it's got that DNA to it. But like I don't know, like everything like what's the Scrooge old woman's name again?
Mrs. Deagle.
Mrs. Deagle. So like her working hours on Deagle Real Estate, it's between like 10:45 and 11. So like she only works like 15 minutes a day. But like, she's so awful to everyone in town. And
she's the crazy cat lady.
Yeah, she is.
And
she loves cats and money.
And my favorite character is Randolph Peltzer, the dad, Billy's dad.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't stand him.
And he's played by Hoyt Axton.
Yeah.
And I just love how he's this terrible inventor. And every time he pitches his terrible inventions, is always like, you're late to the big meeting. It's like everyone's got a big meeting somewhere.
It's like that scene out of Speed where he's like, pop quiz, hot shot.
But he's like, you forgot to shave. Or
you got yourself a case of Dragon Breath.
Yeah. And there's this great scene. There's this great scene where he's like at a invention convention, and there's like weird stuff going on where like you've got like the time machine from H.G. Wells in the background, and it goes into the future, and you've got like Robbie the robot right behind him.
That's the one from Lost in Space?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like there's like all these like little in jokes going on.
Back in the 80s, Robbie would show up in a lot of things. Just in the background. You just never knew where Robbie's going to show up. It's like, it's an episode of Chips. Hey, there's Robbie.
Yeah, but there's so much stuff going on at that convention. all of his, inventions like the smokeless ashtray, stuff like that.
It's just completely bogus and useless inventions.
Buddy.
Yeah.
The one that got me what was the funniest was the juicer. It was like there was one orange in that thing, and it like jutted out like gallons of juice. Yeah. I'm like, what is this thing?
And like, what happened with that coffee machine? It came out like sludge.
You know what? One of the guys that was watching it was like, "Hey, that's like an early Keurig."
and Hoyt Axton actually like he improv like almost all of his dialogue. So like,
shocker.
Everything that Billy's dad said was just coming from that actor.
Yeah, it sounded like it. It's just complete BS. Like I said, this is the first time I watched it, and I can understand why, especially kids of that era, like love this movie. I get it. I really do. But for me, I was just like, the tone was all over the place. I really wish they would have stuck with the hardcore horror elements of it. Like the final battle between the main kid and the, was it Stripe?
Stripe.
Yeah.
Stripe was the last one left.
Yeah.
That was really fun, although the kid was completely useless when he came at him with the chainsaw and all he had was a bat. And he just sat there for like 15 minutes and didn't do anything.
So Chris Columbus wrote the screenplay for this. And originally in the screenplay, it was a lot darker. Like, for instance, his mother, Billy's mom, got the Gremlins beheaded her.
Oh my God.
And like left her dead body on display for Billy to find.
Rated R.
Yeah.
And when Spielberg came on, he kind of started pulling a lot of these more gory elements back. And it was kind of funny because in the original script, Gizmo was the bad guy. So Gizmo was Stripe. And about 20 minutes into the movie, Gizmo turns into the lead evil gremlin. And, Billy was going to be the one to defeat him. And Spielberg was like, I really like Gizmo. Let's make Gizmo the hero. And so like they had to like rewrite the script in order to make it, two different, Stripe as a different Mogwai from Gizmo.
Yeah.
And in fact, they actually came up with one of the rules, don't expose them to bright lights, because they knew that they needed to hide a lot of the puppetry with like darkness.
Yeah.
And so that was a practical thing. And it wasn't so much like a creative choice. It was more like, oh, we got to hide our work here.
Yeah. That's pretty smart though.
And the crew hated the Gizmo puppet because it was so small, it kept breaking. And so like when the Gremlins are torturing Gizmo, basically the crew would come up with terrible things to do to Gizmo list. And they would just write on like what they wanted to do to the puppet. And
I'm in my head, I'm going, I'm seeing Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Gizmo's totally Baby Yoda.
Oh,
100% Baby
sure.
Yoda.
Yeah. So like, there's a lot of interesting like kind of things that went on with this movie, especially like, so Judge Reinhold originally had a much bigger part where he was going to be with Billy and
he
Phoebe.
seemed like he was kind of thrown out.
Yeah,
after
like,
his initial scene in the bar.
Yeah, in the script, he was supposed to be like with Billy and Phoebe Cates as they went through the town fighting gremlins, and he eventually gets locked into the bank's vault, and he just and he stays there until the end of the movie. But as they were editing the movie, Spielberg felt there were too many characters, and so they cut him out of like the second half of the movie completely, and it's kind of weird.
I was just waiting for Tim Conway and Vicki Lawrence to show up.
There was a couple parts that jumped the shark for me. The death of the guy that reminded you of your dad with the tractor.
Mr. Futterman?
Dick Miller?
Dick Miller. That jumped the shark for me. I was like, this is so ridiculous.
Well, he didn't die.
Come on.
Oh, I know. He's in the sequel, right?
Yeah. There's gremlins in my tractor.
Yeah, it was just like,
gremlins.
I rolled my eyes really hard for that one. And then the other one that jumped the shark was apparently the Spielberg idea of making Gizmo the hero at the end fight, where he's like rolling around in like a Barbie Go freaking remote control car. I was just like, it killed any tension.
But he'd been watching that race movie earlier in the movie.
Set up and pay off.
Set up and pay off.
It's just dumb. Just so dumb.
It's like, first off, that's not how those Barbie cars work.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they totally tortured that poor dog that was in the scene because they ran over its paw and they like scared it with
They strung him up in the lights.
That was terrible.
Hung him up.
Yeah, it was awful.
And they blamed Deagle for it.
Right?
But it is fun. It is funny how like Billy's mom is such a badass and he is just worthless.
Uh-huh.
He's
never had to be anything other than worthless because his mom's a badass.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like back then, I feel like the microwave scene and the blender scene were kind of controversial for some reason. People were like, that's too graphic or something. Maybe I remember there was,
it was pretty graphic.
I remember there was some stuff about that the people said, don't let your kids go watch these movies.
I wouldn't let my kid watch this movie.
They're overly gross and offensive.
Yeah.
But
my mother took me to this movie at the drive-in, and like it was me, my mom, her friend, and her friend's son, and they put both kids in one car, and my parents went and the two adults went in the other car, and like I watched this movie by myself with another kid at the drive-in.
Oh my God. No, I would not let my 5-year-old watch this movie.
I also loved how cartoony the Gremlins become once, like, you know, there's so many of them.
See, I think it's too much too.
Well, you have like Jude's favorites, which is the Flasher Gremlin at the bar.
Oh my God.
And
The pervert gremlin.
Yeah, the pervert gremlin with the trench coat that he somehow has in his size.
Yeah.
Like, where did that thing come from?
you have the transvestite gremlin in this one. You got the gremlins playing poker, and one of them just shoots the other one with a gun.
The gremlin, like with his face under the beer tap, just getting the big old beer belly.
Yeah.
And when Phoebe Cates tries to escape the bar, you have like this stick-up gremlin with like the face mask on and the gun.
So many tropes.
This movie kind of jumped the shark for me.
Oh,
Totally
it's
did.
cute.
It is cute, very cute.
It's a classic.
It's not my thing. This is the 80s that I don't like. This is that element of it that I'm just like, it could have been so good, but they ruined it with like dumb schlocky.
Maybe they should
80s stuff.
remake it or something. I don't know.
Don't say that.
Don't you dare
say that.
Well,
I wouldn't
they're
be
making a
offended.
third one.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Like new?
For HBO Max, yeah.
That ought to be fun. Jude's rolling her eyes right now. She's like, God.
But
no.
they'll probably keep it in the same spirit.
Nothing can just be pure.
All right, you guys ready to do some final thoughts on this movie?
Yeah.
Please.
All right, Jude, since you're such a huge fan of this movie, and you have your Gizmo
And
sweater,
she's the one who picked it.
and you were the one who picked it, why don't you give us some final thoughts on Gremlins?
Okay, I give it 6 out of 5 bright lights.
Ooh, baby.
Jude really loves this movie.
I love this movie. It's my favorite Christmas movie.
It's funny because she watched it before we watched it.
I forgot we were watching it for this, and I watched it like a week ago. And then when I found out we were watching it again for this, I was like, we are?
Did you watch it again?
Yeah.
Nice. That's it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Jude, I forgot to tell you. So Jude's also a big fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Mm-hmm.
And the two swords on the wall, you know, the one that Billy grabs to help save his mom.
The one that falls off every time you open the door.
Mm-hmm. Those are the same props that they use for Buffy and Angel's fight.
Oh, neat.
You know?
That's pretty cool.
That's a cool little
So
Easter egg.
so props like to stick around for a long time. In Hollywood.
Katish, final thoughts on Gremlins.
This is another 5 out of 5 for me.
Oh my God.
Like this is a classic. I've loved it ever since I was a kid. I can remember this movie came out the same weekend as Ghostbusters did. And both Ghostbusters and Gremlins were like huge for me. Like I loved both those movies so much. I grew up watching them both. And this one, like every Christmas, like, you know, you got to watch Gremlins. So for me, every Christmas, you got to watch Die Hard, you got to watch Gremlins, you got to watch Scrooged. And going forward, you're probably going to have to watch Krampus as well.
And Fat Man.
And Fat Man. So like, there's a steadily growing group of like, you know, you have to watch Christmas movies.
Vacation.
Yeah. I don't like that movie.
Well, of course you don't, because I think this one's a 5.
Yeah, but like this movie, it's just it's fun, it's nostalgic, it's creative. I love the Spielberg 80s phase where like he didn't necessarily direct these, but like he produced like a bunch of movies around this time that I really love. So yeah, for me, this is a classic.
Right on. For me, as a first-time viewer, there was elements that I absolutely loved, and I can totally see the reasoning why kids growing up in that age would love it so much. I'd give it maybe 2 out of 5 Gremlins in a blender, because there are a lot of fun stuff about this, and I did actually have a good time watching it with some fellow nerds. So I got to give it some.
If you had
props
watched
for
this by yourself, you'd give it a 1 star.
Yeah, exactly. If I was by myself and I watched this, I'd be like, oh, I'm so over it. But there was some fun stuff going on here. Vader, what do you give this movie?
I give it a 2 out of 5, strictly for nostalgia points. That's it. It's poorly acted. It's poorly executed. Billy just pissed me off. Really. Yeah. He's like a one-dimensional, one facial expression character through the entire thing. And no, it didn't do anything for me. I didn't like it when I was 14. I don't like it when I'm 50. So yeah, but no, I didn't like it. 2 out of 5. I mean, it's got some fun elements, but no, it's just not for me.
Okay. Right on. All right, guys, that's it. That's our discussion for Christmas Horror Week. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Before we get out of here, where can we find everybody on the socials? Jude, where can they find you?
You can find me at IamJudeJuju on Instagram and Twitter.
Right on. Thank you. And Matthew Vader, where can they find you?
At Matt Vader 74 on the Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and things.
Right on.
Come say hi.
Just come say hi.
Come see what's up.
Right on. And Matthew Kadish, where can they find you at?
At Matthew Kadish, Kadish, on Twitter and Parler. And kadishbooks.com if you want to check out my novels on Amazon.
Right on. And I am your host, The Salty Nerd. You can catch me on Twitter at salty_nerd and hang out and talk about movies. All right, guys. Talk to you later. Have a good day.
And now another edition of Obvious News from Geico.
Obvious News!
A study says that soft talkers do not make great radio personalities. We asked local librarian Steve Sage about this, and here's what he said.
Honestly, I don't buy it. I think I make very captivating radio.
Also in Obvious News, Geico makes it easy to save money and easy to manage your policy with the Geico app. So switching is a really smart decision. How does Steve feel about this?
I love the Geico app. I use it all the time.
That's Obvious News from Geico.
Obvious News!
When the weather outside is frightful, the Hyundai Santa Fe is, delightful. Because it's got available H-Track all-wheel drive to make being out together better. Enter for your chance to win the newly redesigned Santa Fe, packed with all the jingle bells and whistles you need to go dashing through the snow together. To enter, visit Amazon.com/Hyundai or scan the QR code on specially marked red and green Amazon boxes. No purchase necessary. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.